You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the Black and Gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steeler Nation. It's The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson with you here on the 23rd of December as we are coming down the home stretch of the NFL season. We are getting right in the thick of the holiday season here, Matt. And, of course, although it is a jolly old St. Nicholas week, it is still standard operating procedures for the Pittsburgh
Tuesday
Steelers.
Browns week, right?
And with that, we had a Mike Tomlin press conference today, as we always do on Tuesdays.
I haven't heard anything about it. I love reacting to these organically. Yeah.
I like doing this too. When you've kind of been doing shows and all that stuff, and we can get to this and kind of get first type reactions from you. So as we always do, we'll start with the injury report stuff because that is typically most pertinent. Mike Tomlin, no new updates on T.J. Watt or Isaac Seumalo. Both kind of going to have to wait and see what happens this week.
Okay.
But it does sound like certainly for Seumalo, maybe for Watt as well, a chance of practicing this week.
Okay.
I think it sounds like Seumalo likely will. Watt possibly will. But both of those guys kind of no new updates. Just going to have to wait and see what happens this week.
I mean, it's early. I'm glad we just heard Watt's name. It seems like there's just been no news, and I took no news as bad news, up until this point. So when you said there's a chance he practices, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll take that all day long.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. James Pierre worked out this morning, will be limited to start the week, but will be a participant involved here.
Okay.
So that is good because we, different position, but still same unit. We saw Brandon Echols go down
That's actually
on
my
Sunday.
next question.
And, I mean, you're starting to get a little thin. And you were already thin in that department and getting a little bit thinner. He says he's hopeful about Brandon Echols, but this week of practice will tell that story.
Okay. I mean, the reason I was thinking about that is like Pierre's great to have back, and he's playing really well. But your outside corner position's okay, at the moment at least. Where the slot means
you lose Echols.
I assume Ramsey has to move
Ramsey,
back. Right.
All of a sudden you're moving multiple parts.
Yeah, all of a sudden you get maybe not weaker, but you get different in two spots.
Yes.
Which I didn't love.
Yes, and I'm with you on that one. So Pierre with his calf worked out this morning, will start the week limited. Hopeful about Brandon Echols with his groin, but they're going to have to see how the week transpires. Nick Herbig with that hamstring. Mike Tomlin is optimistic about his status for Saturday and said that he will likely be a limited practice participant to start the week.
Great. I got the impression like if last week was a true playoff game, maybe he could have gone.
If you're hosting the Chargers or the Bills at Acrisure Stadium.
Right. Or maybe he'd have played 15 snaps for it or something like that. So that's great.
I think you're right in that. He was limited at the end of last week, so it wasn't like he was shut down the entire week. But so
he did some stuff last week. He's going to do a lot do something this week.
Exactly right.
Cool. Okay.
Exactly
I'll take that.
right. And so I think that's encouraging news, certainly.
Yeah.
Wait and see with TJ and Seumalo. I think encouraging stuff with Pierre, Echols, and Herbig.
Mm-hmm.
And then
all good players. So.
Yeah, 100%. Guys you're going to need, maybe not necessarily Sunday in Cleveland, I guess, particularly with what happens Saturday.
If Saturday goes your way, I would think I would play none of those guys. Certainly not Watt.
Certainly.
Right.
Anyone with any type of
yeah.
because they've all got bumps and bruises this time of year. But
of course.
Anybody with anything that has to be on the practice report, the injury report,
I would shut down every one of them.
100%.
Maybe they get your feet wet a little bit in week 18. In that
maybe
scenario.
You play a series or two,
right,
but yeah,
so you don't wait that long, but between games. But yeah.
And then finally, Jaylen Warren and Spencer Anderson both will be limited early to start this week. Optimistic about both status for Sunday in Cleveland.
Did I miss either one of them, like, going out of the game, or are they just bumps and bruises associated with play guys?
It's a good question.
I don't recall. Anderson was hard to keep track of. Because
was he ever? That's something in the chaos of just downloading all of our thoughts yesterday. That's something we didn't mention, but yeah, there was a lot of movement on the left side of that offensive line,
which worked great, by the way.
It did work out. It worked much better than it did in LA when they tried some similar stuff there.
And that's what's funny about our jobs too. Is like They lost the Chargers, so it was a bad idea. They win to the Lions.
You don't even mention it.
They don't even bring it up. Like why would they move the guard around?
That's
because he's better in space. There's a reason why they're doing it. I mean, they moved him as a fullback. Like not just anyone can do that. Spencer Anderson extra.
You got to be able to move.
Guy, you got to be able to move. I mean, you're blocking smaller people a lot of the time.
You got to hit a smaller moving target.
Yeah, and it's usually a tackle. In most teams, the 6 guys usually a tackle and just lines up one spot over where he's used to.
Correct.
But Anderson, they pull him and they'll pull him in the backfield. Like it's just like it's not this. Oh, put McCollum or Pete there or whatever. Like that's not an easy chore.
No,
you
it's
can't
not.
Be having them swinging and
you got to be athletic. You got to be able to move.
Yeah.
You got to be able to hit a moving. It's not the same lining up. A foot with somebody in front of you, and like you've got to pick. You got to move. You got to pick your man up, ID him, find him, hit him,
and not to mention you got to be smart. Like
you do.
You usually don't have fullback calls if you're a guard,
right?
You know what I mean, or tight end stuff, or he actually runs a route once in a while.
Absolutely,
I could do without that.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know. I mean, he did catch a pass.
He did catch a pass.
So that's it from kind of the injury forefront there. I would call that mostly optimistic. I think it's better, maybe better this week than it was a week or two. The last week or two.
I mean, considering it's Christmas week, you're in the hunt. You've played a bunch of tough games in a row. That's not too bad, considering it sounds like a contingency of that group you mentioned could or will play.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like they're all.
It sounds like, and again, pure speculation. Things can change so quickly, but it sounds like more of those guys are trending towards playing as opposed to being out.
Yeah, just the tone of it sounded better than worse.
Like if TJ is the only one who's not available out of that group, I think.
Especially if you have Herbig.
Sounds realistic.
Yeah.
And especially if you have Herbig. Matt, something that we got a lot of questions about, tweets about yesterday, and even some more today, and of course Mike Tomlin was asked about, that is something you just touched on. Coach, what happens if the Ravens lose Saturday night and you guys clinch before you take the field Sunday in Cleveland? How does that work? How do you go about that? Who gets rest? How do you balance that with what would also be a Week 18 that wouldn't mean anything for you from that standpoint? Mike Tomlin said if the Ravens lose to the Packers Saturday night and the Steelers clinch a playoff spot, it could change the plan for some of the players on Sunday, but they have not made any specific plans there yet. And kind of that proverbial, we'll cross that bridge if and when we get there.
It's funny. I almost cut you off because I thought this just screams coach speak. We're only worried about the Steelers. Yeah, like most head coaches just be like
Cleveland.
I didn't even know they were playing the Packers this week.
I
we're
thought
just
that game was
preparing for
Sunday
the Browns,
too.
right? I didn't even know. We're not paying any attention. We're just preparing for the Browns. That's how Belichick would have handled
it.
Or most coaches. But that screams to me that Tomlin would be like, dude, Aaron, you're not. I'm hiding your helmet.
Yes.
Cam, you're not playing if the Packers pull it off,
Yes, exactly right.
Let alone the injured guys we mentioned,
And so that will be interesting to me, though. Like I told you, I would still like to see the Steelers have to win on Sunday, get it done themselves, cross that finish line, put the hat and the T-shirt on and dance a little bit in the locker room to celebrate winning the division, which obviously is not the end goal, but it's an important accomplishment.
It's a big deal. You win division.
There's a reason they sell hats and T-shirts for it.
Yeah.
It's funny. I actually made this joke a couple weeks ago with our producer, Nathan, when he first started. Steelers, it's like they win the division. Who cares?
Yeah. But it's been a little while.
If the Pirates won the division, I'd buy a hat and a T-shirt so fast.
Right,
So it means something.
It means something, right? I mean, if this was Arizona or Cleveland or,
oh my
if the Bears end up winning the division.
Oh, a great example.
Right, yeah.
When was the last time the Bears won the division?
Absolutely. That's
probably
a big deal.
When Trubisky, the 1 year Trubisky, I mean, it's probably been 7 or 8 years. It's been a long time since Cleveland. The Jets, when the last time the Jets won a division?
Jags might win the division. That's kind of a big deal there.
Carolina Panthers might win the division.
Big one.
So part of me wants to see them like, we got to do it ourselves. We got to beat this team that we should take care of business of on the road. We do that. We get the hat and the T-shirt, and we get to have a little fun in the locker room. And then you get the full kind of 1 week, shut people down, rest them up, bye week.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to cross that bridge for 2 weeks, but it's a real possibility, without a doubt, that the Ravens could lose Saturday night at Lambeau.
This isn't at the level of, I don't like talking about medical, but it kind of is. And because I don't know if there's a right answer. It's almost like, who do you play in the preseason? What do you do in this?
Same church, different pew to that conversation.
I think a lot of it is the coach who has the best pulse of his team knows I shut this guy down, I don't shut this guy down, or we got to go because we're a mess right now.
It's that proverbial, like, you don't treat everybody the same.
Right.
Some guys you have to be harder on. Other guys, you just tell them once and you know that they get it. You know? Some guys you have to be more vocal, rah-rah. Other guys, it's just a calm message and they pick it up and they run with it.
If you're a new coach and this organization's not used to winning, maybe we got to instill a culture, or, it's different around here.
Great point.
It's been the same coach and an older quarterback and a lot of the same guys that have been around the block and played meaningful games together. So I never know, but I always end this conversation with no one's ever going to praise the coach for getting it right, but they'll crush them if they happen to lose.
100%.
Right.
100%.
If they played their guys like crazy every minute against the Browns and Ravens and neither game meant a thing and they lose in the opening round.
Oh, they were too worn out.
What an idiot. Or if he sits them both, they were rusty.
Should
never let them do that,
God
Too
forbid
easy
somebody gets injured, too.
Oh, exactly, right. Like, there's no right answer.
No, there is
never like, what a genius. He played that perfect. Yeah, right.
No, you're 100% spot on. Packers 2.5-point favorites, by the way, on Saturday night at home against the Ravens.
I wonder what the early buzz is on both quarterbacks.
Maybe we'll see if we can get some of that today before we get up out of here. Last thing before we get to Chris Adamski when we return. This one will make Matt happy. This one will make our listeners angry. Mike Tomlin called Myles Garrett, and I quote, the slam dunk defensive player of the year.
It's true.
Slam-a-jamma.
Yeah, right. I mean, I hope he doesn't set the record against Steelers, but you're in the hunt or a favorite to have the sack record on a team that's never winning. It's pretty good. It helps when you have a lead.
Helps when you can pin your ears back in the fourth quarter and go hit some quarterbacks. Slam dunk, Myles Garrett, defensive player of the year, according to Mike Tomlin. But yeah, Dylan Cook, can you do something for me, cousin, and keep that guy off the board on Sunday for sure. Plenty more to get to from the Mike Tomlin press conference, looking ahead and kind of starting to turn the page. We'll do some of that with our buddy Chris Adamski on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, just getting started here on a Tuesday. It is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Now the scene is set.
I like it, yeah.
Now the mood is right here. Nathan playing some Christmas tunes for us as we go to the phone lines and we talk to our buddy Chris Adamski. He, of course, co-hosts the Steelers Blitz with Tom Otferman at noon on the Steelers Audio Network, has been covering the Steelers for the Trib for longer than a decade. Buzz, thank you for taking the time. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. And let's jump right into it with you here. 2-game suspension came down yesterday for DK Metcalf. That appeal process either is happening or is going to happen sometime today. Do you have any inkling of how that's going to play out? Will it stick at 2 games? Will they cut it back to 1? Is there any educated guess at this point, or is it truly just wait and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, the educated guess would be that it would go to 1, just because that's what that seemed to be what people would think, and it seems to be. I mean, it's actually harder to find precedent than you'd think of something like this. But 1 game, and we've seen in the past where the league has dropped a game here or there. Now that's half the suspension, but I think, generally speaking, all the way around from in Pittsburgh and nationally, and everybody thought 2 games, like, wow, 2 games, that's a lot. So you would think the league kind of hedged their bets here and just sort of that, you put it out there and it looks like they're giving something back or whatever. So, that sounds a little bit cynical, I guess, but, they probably always plan to end up being 1 game. At least that's the way it looks. But I guess we'll find out here probably within a few hours.
Chris, I'm sure you're aware of the insane run defense splits with and without Derek Harmon on the field. And I think most of our listeners are. I don't need to spell out the numbers, but they're extreme. Do you think he's really that important, or is it a little bit fluky? Or, I mean, what's your logic behind that? He's a good player, but he's not Joe Green.
Yeah, it's funny. Didn't Mike Tomlin sort of almost like mock that today in some way? Playfully,
oh, really?
He wasn't. I mean, he said something. I've read a lot about some of the numbers with Derek Harmon. I don't know how he worded it, but he kind of made fun of it or poked fun at the idea that he was the missing piece or the only piece of it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of his point was being the front seven in general, and he's trying to be complimentary. I'm sure he, in some ways, wants to keep a rookie, grounded and everything like that. To a point.
That
So I'm
adds
sure
up,
that was
right.
part of it. But I'm sure when he's in his, as he put it today, tunnel vision, that he might not have noticed this game or that game. And it is a point though where, for one thing, the numbers are so stark.
Right.
That you can't ignore it, right? I mean, to say it's just a coincidence or whatever, it is really kind of selling it short. I mean, it wasn't like a one-game sample size or so. You get hurt one game and they got blown up. Okay, well, maybe you played a real good running back.
Yeah, who'd you play against?
Yeah. But then and to a point, even you can go back to that because remember the first game was Justin Fields and you had the +1 component there, and you had a good two-headed running back tandem in week 2 when he was out, and again you can go back week by week and again kind of justify it by saying, well, you played run first teams and what Chicago was in there, and you can just kind of parse it that way and say. But, now we're at a point where, shutting down, doing what you did to the Lions run offense. That's you talk
crazy,
about
yeah.
the two-headed monster. And I know their line was hurt, and there's factors in that too. But at the same time, to be able to shut down that offense to that point, and obviously the run offense where they're getting, 1 yard per carry. It's kind of crazy. How many times you see a game where a team has 15 carries and they have a 17-yard carry, or what was it? I want to make sure this right now. 12 carry, whatever it was. They had negative yards except for the 17-yard carry that Montgomery had in the first quarter there. So that kind of shows how dominant the team was overall. And anytime you ask both either Terrell Austin or Mike Tomlin, they say, well, he's a high pedigree guy. It's the reason we took him in the first round. That's always kind of the answer without any real nuts and bolts or substance to the answer as to what it is. But, he is any team that you would think would lose one of their top 3 defensive tackles, and particularly, wherever you want to put it in the stock of saying nose tackle now, and I don't know how much he plays a true nose or how you want to term that the way it used to be anyway. You would think there'd be some drop off, but yeah, it is kind of crazy. And I think the takeaway to whatever you think of how much he means particular to this particular team in the run defense, I think the main takeaway you can take from it is no matter what you think of that you have a guy here who's going to be, assuming he stays here and he's healthy and everything, a decade-long defensive tackle for you. To what degree, his ceiling still can be all pro, and his floor is going to be a solid, make a Pro Bowl here and there tackle for you. I think that's the good news if you're the Steelers and you're a Steeler fan is this looks like a first-round pick that there's no indication that he got it wrong. That's for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to piggyback off that because I just retweeted something that I didn't realize either about that Lions game was the Steelers' defense had a run stuff rate, which is stopping the ball carrier at or behind the line of scrimmage, on 50% of the runs. That was the highest stuff rate of any defense in any game this season. And I was just sitting there thinking about the Harmon splits. And last year there was a similar one with Cam Hayward, where yards per carry, the Steelers were basically number 1 or number 2 in the league when he was on the field, and they were either 31 or 32nd when he was off. And that
drastic.
That one, it was just like, oh yeah, I totally buy that. Like he's that important. That's why you drafted Derek Harmon, because he was too important for you.
Yeah.
This one doesn't smell quite as potent.
Yeah, it's just wild in general that the Steelers have that type of performance against that quality of a team and an offense and a rushing offense, and it was 21 days after letting the most rushing yards at home in 50 years, a half century's, a lifetime's worth of a bad rushing defense performance or effort in terms of the production. So it's just wild you see that. Obviously, an X factor there is Derek Harmon. I thought Hayward was really good against the Lions. Everybody has to be good if you're gonna have that kind of numbers. And until the fourth quarter, just in general. Again, this offense led the league in scoring. That ain't no joke that they held them to 164 yards there until the fourth quarter. And I don't want to say those by any means were garbage yards, and they allowed the yards and the points. They didn't want to. It wasn't like they were, prevent or up 28 points or something. So the fourth quarter wasn't great. But, they got stops they needed to, and just on hold. But, yeah, the rushing offense the rushing defense, the rushing offense too. We could talk about that, I'm sure, but the rushing defense and Harmon and being there and everything, and I think, I still think Benton if you go through again, with just kind of top of my head, the 15 games they've had, Benton's looked like the guy you went again when he kind of drafted him. He was early second round, the real stalwart guy. You've probably seen that 6 or 7, 8 games or something like that. But there's a couple games where he's like, oh, come on, Keon, you're kind of missing that too. But I thought that was one of the former games for him that he looked really good too.
Chris, I realize this is probably a difficult question to answer. I might be putting you on the spot a little bit, but hearkening back to Sunday in Detroit, that 29-24 victory for the Steelers, you've been on the beat now since 2014, I believe. So, you've got a nice chunk of time. You're not one of these Mike Pursutas or, Bob Labriolas who's been around since the dinosaur, but you've covered plenty of Steelers football in your years. Can you remember any ending, any finish, any fourth quarter that was as nuts, as bizarre, as back and forth, as chaotic as what we witnessed, about 48 hours ago in Detroit?
Yeah, if you count it, kind of the back and forth nature and the exciting nature of it, and the late season. The crazy part is the game wasn't super duper consequential to the Steelers, right?
Sure.
So that's if you take, I remember that Saints game. I had the feeling of that Saints game from 2018. Until the final play, of course, I'm talking about. We'll get to that in a second. But just in terms of the fourth quarter, going back and forth, and both teams, two playoff caliber teams. And actually, oddly enough, that Steelers team missed the playoffs, kind of like these Lions probably will. I felt like that Steelers team was a playoff team, or should have been a playoff team, or one of the top 6 or 7 teams in the conference didn't make it. And looks like that happened to the Lions, too, in a similar way, where the Steelers lost that game to an officiating call for a pass interference. And that was earlier in the game, of course, of Joe Hayden. I don't know if you remember what I'm referring to. I think it was the day before Christmas or after Christmas, right around Christmas. And there was the Joe Hayden got in that 1 year where we could challenge pass interference calls. Well, what a disaster that was. But anyway, so they got a pass interference call that pretty much kind of in some way decided that game. Anyway, that game sticks out to me as in terms of that. When you talk about a late season game that had that excitement going back and forth and everything, and had meaning in terms of one team desperate for a playoff, another team fighting for a division title, and two good teams at that matter. That's the one of the games that stick out. But that doesn't even factor in, of course, the final play where you have the drama. And then I assume the officials are instructed. I like to talk to Gene Steratore, the way because they always announce it that way. The ruling on the field is, I'm sure they're instructed, start with that no matter what you do, right? That makes sense when it's a holding call in the second quarter, right? Or something like that, or whatever it is, if there's some sort of dispute. But when you're talking about the end of the game, whenever there's no time on the clock and it's a 5-point game and a touchdown decides the game, and you start out your announcer with the ruling on the field is a touchdown, and you're the home team has the touchdown, and then you have to explain the rest of it, and then they get to and the game is over, and even though what he explained, anybody thinking or knows that that's probably not a touchdown, still wasn't. He says he started out with the ruling of the field as a touchdown. He ends it, or almost ends it. It sounds like he's ending it with the game is over. And then there's like a little pause. He says the touchdown. I don't forget the terminology. The touchdown didn't count. The touchdown's rolled back, or Pittsburgh wins, or whatever he said. It was just a wild way to do that, and just to see how that all went down. And man, I was thinking about that. I'm having almost like nightmares thinking about what the narrative would be this week if somehow that. They didn't rule the forward progress, and they did announce that as a pitch back, an illegal touchdown, and the game did end if there wasn't an interference flag or something like that, or how that would have ended, what we'd be talking about right now instead. But it was a wild game, and furthermore, when you start asking that question, Wes, it was one of the better wins by the Steelers in 11 years. You put everything together on the road against a team that, again, they might not make the playoffs, so it's kind of weird to say that, but against one of the better teams in the league. And the way the rushing offense, the rushing defense, to have a lead almost throughout, just in terms of the, if you talk about the quality of the win somehow, if this is like college football, we're doing a resume, I think winning at Detroit for the Steelers team at this time of year was one of the just better quality wins they've had over the past decade or so.
So you mentioned the running game for the Steelers. Do you think it's gotten to the point now where roles for Gainwell and Warren are pretty much interchangeable? I mean, there was that stretch there where Gainwell played every third down, which made me crazy. And at the beginning of the season, he was obviously kind of a spot player. But I'm getting the feeling they just kind of use them both no matter what the situation is.
Yeah, I do wonder. Of course, you see some of Gainwell lines up more outside or more in a classic, typical kind of more receiver thing, but that might be more, So when you say they're interchangeable in a sense, I don't think the same plays necessarily, or at least they're the same.
I guess I phrased that wrong. I mean, more down in distance, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, Yeah, which is kind of something I know our friend Tim Benz was really advocating for it at some point. Was pulling his hair out about that. Whenever, I don't know, this season everything runs together anymore. One of the lulls in the season where the Steelers had trouble on third downs, and part of we thought they're third. Warren these 2 third down backs and whatever. But the whole
right,
thing.
They're bad on third down, so why take the good guy off the field, right?
Yes. There that whole narrative. So that's kind of what I thought made sense, is the point where, and that's been one of the, I think, on both of those guys. I don't know what you thought going into the season. I was skeptical to different degrees or different levels or different reasons, I guess, almost maybe, about Gainwell and Moore. I thought they were both good running backs and good players to have on your team. And heck, maybe the Steelers thought that too by drafting with their second draft pick. They took a running back and profiled Moore as a first and second down back. That I wondered if either of them would be effective backs, if you kind of, I don't know, say expose them too much or use them in all situations. And here we are, with 2 weeks left in the season, and it's kind of the opposite, quote unquote, problem where they're both proved adept at every situation, and you're trying to find ways to use them both. And so I think that's been one of the better aspects, is both Gainwell kind of getting out of the shadow of always having a Pro Bowl running back ahead of him in Philadelphia, and coming here and kind of on a prove it deal and proving that he can be a much more utilized player. And the same thing with Warren. Maybe there was questions about him. He had to get his contract, and he obviously was never the starter here or anything like that. And I think they both have shown that they're capable backs in their own way and can be really good backs in their own way.
Couple more minutes here with Chris Adamski, of course, of the Steelers Blitz and the Trib. Buzz, I guess a hypothetical for you here. If the Baltimore Ravens go to Lambeau Field Saturday night and lose to the Packers, and the Steelers clinch the AFC North, how do you proceed on Sunday? Are you looking at it as 2 bye weeks? Are you looking at it as business as usual? Is it somewhere in between? I still want my guys to play because I don't want them to have that much time off. But, maybe I'll say whoa as opposed to sick 'em, once we get into the second or third quarter. If the Steelers, when that bus gets to, Huntington Bank Field there, I think now in Cleveland, it changes its name every year. When that bus pulls up at, 10:30, 11 o'clock Sunday morning, and the Steelers, quote unquote, have nothing to play for because the division is already in the bag, but you still have 2 more games. It's not just a 1-week thing. How would you handle that? How do you think Mike Tomlin would handle that?
I feel like Mike Tomlin, and maybe I'm wrong on this, they obviously have to game plan like a normal week, like they need to win the game, obviously, and treat it like a highly meaningful regular season game. So I don't know if you get to the point where it is Saturday night, you've already developed your plan with your players. Then you also have the whole thing where it's not like a preseason game where, there's only 6 plus injuries, 6 or 7 extra guys. I guess you can call up 2 practice squad guys. You can't rest everybody, right? There's only so many guys.
Can't sit all 5
rest.
of your offensive linemen.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's literally impossible to do it. So you run into that. Now, at some point, though, to me, then you run the problem of, do you really want to have a lot of these guys having what would be 3 calendar weeks or 2 games off heading into the playoffs when you want to be at your sharpest, especially whenever, I guess on both sides of the ball, and particularly in offense, I feel like that things are kind of rounding into form now, right? You don't want to, you kind of want to keep that momentum going. So it's definitely a balancing act. And my first instinct would be to say, I'll pretty much treat, other than guys that are on the fence for injury, right? That's obviously something you maybe don't want to. You might, if it's a playoff game, if somebody's right on the fence there, you let them play, or a game you had to win for the division, you let them play. Or if it's a week 8 game in the regular season, maybe a little less, but in this situation, sit them down, right? You definitely don't want to have somebody who got a soft tissue thing and you're trying to force them out there. So that can knock off a couple of your decisions there. And then, man, it's like, again, you want to keep the momentum going, but at the same time, a 42-year-old quarterback, you kind of just don't want. I know Mike Tomlin doesn't think this way, but it's like, man, can you imagine the if he does, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt in that game or in the second half of that game or something, and it's just like imagine the criticism that would come down at that point, fair or not. Yeah.
What was he thinking?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so I would think that Rodgers, and just to be my guess, what they would do, and probably what I would do too, is at least start him, and maybe the whole first half. I don't know. Especially at that point, you have a whole extra game, and that's when it gets real fun. You think, is it a Will Howard game? Is it a half Mason Rudolph, half Will Howard? And there's a lot of ways you can play with that. I'm sure a lot of people that'd make that very interesting all of a sudden to get to watch Will Howard in a game, that Week 18 game. It doesn't mean anything because that's something that you could put in your memory bank and pocket for how you approach a lot of things over the offseason and everything, I think. But yeah, I would think something like that. Maybe sit a couple, obviously don't maybe if Sayamalo shows he's ready, and all of a sudden, you know what, we don't need to put Sayamalo in here now if this game doesn't mean anything. A couple guys up and down like that. Obviously TJ, if he was getting close, maybe at the playoff week, maybe he pushes a little more, but obviously you wouldn't do that in his situation if the game doesn't mean anything.
Would you agree, though, if the Ravens and Steelers win this upcoming weekend, then you'd treat it like a preseason game? I mean, you just shut down everyone for 1 week.
I see. Yeah, okay, what you're saying. Yeah. I think at that point, yeah, because it's only 1 week. Then it's like a bye week. I think you start getting to 2 weeks, you start maybe losing some of your crispness and things like that. And, And it all, also you have a whole week then to kind of put in a game plan for however you want to do it. I would say my guess would probably be Mason Rudolph the first half, Will Howard the second half. But you game plan with the guys you have, whoever they are, and put together obviously a vanilla game plan to a point in terms of what you're doing. But at least you have a whole week to kind of build up to what you're doing that week rather than plan all week. And obviously I'm probably making too much of this, but at the same time, at that point you've been revving up for a full week for this week, and at least start the game with your starters and everything and execute that for a half or something. But yeah, for a whole week, definitely, I think you treat it that way, yes.
And frankly, they would never admit it, but you might have half the coaching staff watching the Bills that week instead of the Ravens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, they would never admit it. You're right. And you're playing your rival and everything, and I'm sure they're going to want to win that Week 18. But you're absolutely right. Although there's a lot of ways that could still. We'll see how we'll know a little more clarity after Sunday or Monday here. But New England still would play as the 5 seed. I mean, there's you got still Houston's in there. There's a lot of ways. It might not be that simple, but you're right. At least start a little advanced scouting on the 3 or 4 or 5 teams. You might still be able to play that next week.
Always plenty to ponder. Always good stuff with our buddy Chris Adamski. Make sure you're checking out his work in the Trib, and of course listening to him and Tom at noon on the Blitz every day on the Steelers Audio Network. Chris, thanks for the time, partner. We'll catch up with you, I guess this weekend in Cleveland. But happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Hopefully you are able to enjoy some time with the family here. Thank you.
You too as well. Hopefully I'll see you in Cleveland. Thanks, guys.
Oh, you know it. I get real excited for Cleveland in late December. Nothing gets the blood pumping like Cleveland in late December, baby. There he goes, Chris Adamski. Great stuff with him as always. I mean, yeah, you ask me. South Beach, no. Southern California, no.
Send me to Cleveland.
Texas, no. I want to go to Cleveland for the holidays, baby. That is where the Christmas Story house is, after all. Did you know that?
I did. I know it's somewhere close. I don't know exactly where.
It's in the suburbs. I don't think it's terribly far outside of the city, but it is somewhere in the Cleveland suburbs. You'll laugh at this. My wife's from Philadelphia. So when we moved back for her out here to Pittsburgh in 2018 when I took this job, one of the first things she said was, "Oh, you got to take me to the Christmas Story. If we're going to live that close to Cleveland,
really?
You got to take me to the Christmas Story house." And we still haven't done it, but
it's not that far.
It's on the list.
It's far from Philly.
It's far from Philly. Yeah, it's about an 8-hour drive from Philly. Not too bad from where we're at. Maybe 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours. You can pay to stay there the night and all kinds of stuff,
really?
Airbnb.
Okay.
They do
you can go through it, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So I will have to get that done for her one of these years. But this time it's football. They're Steelers and Browns.
Other than NFL, though, we have that on a loop all eve and day.
It's great.
It's great. Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. I am not the biggest rah Christmas guy. What's your favorite song? What's your favorite?
Yeah. But Christmas Story's a great one.
Christmas Story's great. Christmas Vacation's great.
Yeah.
All the classics. You can't beat it. Let's get to break here. When we come back on the other side to close down the first hour, I want to do a little Tuesday rewind with you, Matt.
Okay.
I've got perhaps my most specific observation from a Tuesday rewind that we've had all year. So I'm excited to get into it here. What you have to add there as well. We'll do that to close down hour number 1 when we return. On the other side, Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. This is like it's Christmassy, but it's also Robin Hood-esque almost. It sounds like, I was laughing with you guys. My wife and I were watching The Patriot last night. We're like, oh, it's Christmas movie season. Yeah, let's put The Patriot on.
Yeah, not exactly.
That sounds like the Pied Piper music that the Americans were playing during the Revolution when they were going to fight the British, going to fight the Redcoats. We're having some fun in here. Final show for Matt and I until Friday. We'll be off Wednesday, Thursday, Christmas Eve, and Christmas, but we'll be back Friday to tee up, of course, Steelers, Browns, and all of the Week 17 action for you.
There will be SNR programming, though.
Yes.
Yes,
there will.
Right.
Everybody else basically is still doing shows tomorrow, except for you and I.
Right.
And then they're all off Friday, but we're going to do a show Friday.
Yep.
So everybody gets 2 days off in there. It's just kind of worked around
so we can keep giving you guys stuff. Right?
Absolutely, because it is crunch time here, and there's plenty to get to. And actually, before we leave today, in hour number 2, we need to make sure that we do the Christmas Day game pick'ems, because we will obviously.
Oh, right.
This will be our last show before then.
Not the best slate, which doesn't break my heart.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
In fact, the cynic in me kind of enjoys that it's not the best slate.
Me too, to be honest with you. Yeah.
We've had this conversation.
There's been times
before.
I had to be glued to them. I mean, obviously for Steelers play, but I've been
totally.
If it's like even the Saturday game, we were at a Christmas stuff at my wife's family's house, and the first game was bad, so I hardly watched it at all. That's unlike me, but I'm like, we're here. I'm gonna, my kids are home from college, blah blah blah. But then I came home for Bears Packers, and was glued to that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've told you my opinion on all this. I'm not naive. I understand it's a business. There's money to be made, so you make the money. But it's like, no one has to own Christmas, okay? Mm-hmm. The NBA tried to do it for a decade. The NFL's and will be successful doing it now. Yeah. Christmas the next 3 years is going to be on a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. It's only going to ramp up.
Oh, I didn't even think of that part.
It's only going to ramp. I get it. I'm not naive. I'm not dumb.
It's not going away.
But we could just leave Christmas, okay? That no one needs to own Christmas. It needs but I totally digress. Different conversation. Matt, time to get into our Tuesday rewind here. Which is basically quite simple. Rewatch the game Monday night, an extra observation or two that we didn't discuss on the show on Monday.
I'm all in.
I've got a specific moment that I want to talk about with all of you here that I thought changed the game, and in all that craziness at the end and controversy at the end and everything. We didn't discuss it at all, and I don't think many people are. But here you go. One key moment on that final drive for the Lions.
Okay.
45 seconds left. Detroit has the ball, obviously. It's 2nd and 10 at the Steelers' 12-yard line. 2nd and 10 at the Steelers' 12.
Danger zone.
Danger zone big time. 2nd and 10, 12-yard line, 45 seconds left. The Lions come out and empty, okay? They throw a quick screen to the left to Slaw. However the heck he pronounces his name. And if you look at the still shot, Detroit could not have drawn it up better. Slaw gets the ball. He's got 2 blockers in front of him against Asante Samuel Jr. and Chuck Clark.
Okay. Exactly what you're looking for. Smaller defenders.
Exactly what you're looking for. He's a
big physical receiver.
You've got the alleyway. You've got the blockers. You need 12 yards to the end zone. Should be a clear touchdown. I mean, if you stop it right there when Goff gets rid of it and Slaw catches it.
Okay.
I mean, he's got acres and 2 blockers and 2 defenders. That's it. Screen to the left to Slaw. 2 blockers against Asante Samuel Jr. and Chuck Clark coming down. Should be a clear touchdown. You got the ball carrier in space with 2 blockers on 2 hats.
Play callers love that. Just the way I drew it up.
And like I said, if you go back and watch it, if you take the screenshot, Detroit would have taken that 100 out of 100 times.
This is the look we wanted.
This is the look we wanted. This is the defense we wanted. We got it. But credit to Asante Samuel Jr. and Chuck Clark. They both did a good job they couldn't make the tackle, but they forced Slaw back inside. They didn't let him get outside.
That's the thing, is you got to keep that contained and
funnel him inside. They did do their job in that regard. And then Patrick Queen goes from attacking the line of scrimmage and busts his hump all the way from the line of scrimmage to make the touchdown-saving tackle at the 1-yard line.
Okay.
So they gained 11 of
I
the
can picture it better now and with him screaming from
behind. I mean, Patrick Queen starts attacking downhill, realizes what's going on, and bust hump back. And just by Samuel Jr. and Clark being able to force Slaw inside, can Patrick Queen make the touchdown-saving tackle at the 1 yard line?
And if he's a step slower, it's touchdown. Yeah.
If they don't force him all the way inside, touchdown. They gained 11 yards to the 1 yard line. So, hey, on 2nd and 12, you pick up 11 yards, still a successful play.
They still had a timeout in their pocket from what I remember.
They still had a timeout. It was 3rd and 1 from the
Plenty
1,
of time, right.
and it's obviously 2 down territory.
Of
So if
course,
you're the
right.
Lions, we got a timeout. We got 2 shots from the 1 yard line here.
We could even run the ball if we need to. Or,
Absolutely. So you would have obviously wanted the touchdown there, but you still pick up 11 yards. Patrick Queen saves the day, but this is still a great opportunity for Detroit. But then what happens from there is the Lions take 2 penalties on back-to-back plays. They get the first OPI, 10-yard penalty. Then there's a false start.
I want to stop you super quick.
Yeah.
I do think it's noteworthy that on that 3rd and 1 with a timeout in your pocket on the 1 yard line that they chose to pass it. Like they had no faith in the run game.
Great point.
You know what I mean? Because you easily could run behind Penei Sewell with
and
David Montgomery
David
or whatever.
Montgomery,
Right.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
Right. They had no faith of they even able to get a yard.
So 11-yard pass to Slaw, right? To the 1 yard line. Patrick Queen saves the tackle. That also, though, pardon me, that picked them up a first down. So it was 1st and goal at the 1.
Yeah. Right.
1st and goal.
They had unlimited downs, basically. Well, not unlimited, but that's not a problem.
1st and goal at the 1, 25 seconds on the clock, plenty of time. I mean, Detroit is in great position. Touchdown pass, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Nullified, though, by the offensive pass interference. So that puts them back to 1st and goal at the 11. False start penalty on the Lions.
That was a brutal one.
1st and goal at the 16. So all of a sudden, what looked like a clear touchdown for Detroit. Okay, Queen makes the saving tackle at the 1 yard line, but it's 1st and goal.
But it's easy to forget that, yeah.
You look up, and now it's 1st and goal from the Steelers' 16-yard line. And that completely changes everything. And yeah, they complete a 7-yard pass, incompletion, and then the penalty on that final play. The game's over.
Okay.
But none of that happens. They don't get the offensive pass interference. They don't get the 5-yard penalty back if Patrick Queen doesn't make that. And credit to us.
If Samuel and Clark if they get steamrolled,
if they get steamrolled and Slaw scores his 2nd touchdown of the game there. Credit to those 2 for forcing him back inside. Credit to Patrick Queen for busting hump and saving the day at the 1 yard line, because from there, Detroit goes back 2 straight plays, and it was a completely different task for the Lions.
So 2 things to throw in there is really when you watch any game, it's noticeable, but really when you watch all 22, you see what kind of athlete and speed player Queen is. And you guys at the game or TV on the sidelines, I'm sure is like, whoa, that dude covers ground.
Yeah, some blades of grass.
Yeah, he can really move his feet. And the other thing is, of course, the observation you just made about Queen, Clark, Samuel, that's the stuff that coaches love. Like I bet Tomlin shows that not just like in the defensive film breakdown or in the D-back room, the linebacker room. It's like, don't forget what PQ did 3 plays before, Here's
the trickle down of every effort.
Yeah, exactly.
You needed all these things to go right. You needed Samuel and Clark.
Any one of you guys screw it up.
Any one of you screw it up. Samuel and Clark get steamrolled, it's a touchdown. PQ doesn't bust hump and get back there, it's a touchdown.
Yeah.
Maybe if we don't get those penalty flags, they end up scoring a touchdown.
Sure.
But it took all those things to engineer victory. Those are the inches, those are the minutia that we need to be buttoned up in all the time. And here's what happens when we do.
Yeah, if Queen's like, I got too far upfield, it's
right.
not my play.
Yeah, right.
He
gets swallowed up in the A gap or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Or just doesn't give the max effort possible. And it's such a Belichick thing. Do your job.
Do your job.
You guys you have 2 jobs as these defensive backs taking on these blockers is force the thing on the inside if you can't make the play.
I thought that really stood out in the sense
No, that's a real good observation that can be easily forgotten, especially on Tuesday,
absolutely
by our listeners and whatnot.
It was not the biggest play in that crazy stretch at the end of the game, but it gave the Steelers an opportunity in that stretch there to win the game, because
keeps you alive.
Even first and goal from the 1 with 25 seconds left, you were like, this ain't good.
It looked pretty bad, right?
But it was better than them scoring a touchdown the play before. It kept you alive. And then you get a couple, then they take a dumb OPI, and then they take a false start, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, it's first and goal at the 16.
Now it's a challenge.
Now it's a challenge for Detroit. That's how quick those little moments can flip a game.
That's a good one.
And yeah.
It's worth doing a whole segment on that. I mean, it really is. Like one play that it can be overlooked, but that's how this game works.
That is, as Al Pacino would say, in Any Given Sunday, the inches that we need are all around us.
They are.
And the Steelers needed those inches to get it done in Detroit. Hour in the books, another hour to go, Matt. You want to do a little power rankings in hour number 2 here on a Tuesday?
They get a little weird when teams are eliminated, but I mean, it's still fun to do.
I think so. Particularly the top 10 should be interesting. So we'll
Some
get
of
into
the bottom teams, including the Browns, at least made some things interesting.
100%. We'll get into all of that and more in hour number 2. Maybe start talking about those Browns a little bit more as well. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, halfway home here on The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Now we're talking. Let that ride for a second there, Nathan. Now it feels like Christmas. Good evening, Steeler Nation. How you doing? Well, that's good. Us too.
Yeah.
Hour number 2 here, feeling holly and jolly, merry and bright, as we are rolling along here on a Tuesday as the afternoon turns to the evening. And with that, some things will be different this week, obviously, with the holiday schedule, but we wanted to make sure to get to our weekly Tuesday power rankings. Couple things that you can always count on a Tuesday, Matt. Is we're gonna
touch on each team at least.
We're gonna recap what Mike Tomlin said in the first hour of the show. We're gonna talk some power rankings, and it's just a good opportunity to kind of comment on other teams around the league.
On each team or whatever, right?
Absolutely. And number 32, checking in from the basement where they've been for a long time. It's the Las Vegas Raiders. Hey, they had one of their best games. Had one of their better games of the season.
Yeah. Geno wasn't bad. Genty looked like the guy you thought you were getting.
Geno had probably his best game in a while, like since September.
Yeah.
And Genty might have had his best game of his rookie season.
Max Crosby was a wrecking machine too. Right.
And that's one of those, like those
are the guys you were hoping were good.
You'll laugh at this. I play a little Madden. I'm not a super Madden guy. I don't play nearly as many video games as I used to when I was younger.
Sure fatherhood has something to do with that.
Absolutely. But like one thing that my buddies still like to do and that I do sometimes, like when it's, the middle of April and I've got more free time and I might play a little Madden or something like that, is to like take a struggling organization, strip it for parts, and see how fast you can rebuild it. In franchise mode type thing.
Yeah, that's fun.
If you're the Raiders, like you've got some pieces to like you could get a haul for Max Crosby.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got some pieces to strip down.
It's a big project, but there are some things
to build around the Genties and the Bowers, and so who knows? It's going to be a interesting offseason, tumultuous offseason for them, I'm sure. Who knows what happens with Pete Carroll? But the Raiders sticking at number 32. I've got no problem with that.
Still.
Yeah, same. Although I don't know. The Giants checking in at 31.
Yeah, Giants are pretty rough right now.
Maybe if those two teams were playing somewhere in St. Louis, in the middle of Vegas and New York or something like that, Kansas City, St. Louis, somewhere there, Indianapolis, maybe the Raiders would be favored by like a point. But I'm not going to fight over the 31st and the 32nd. No. I think these are clearly the two at the bottom of the basement.
Can't feel great about it from a Giants perspective, though. I mean, you'd think like Dart and a couple things were going a little better than they are.
Nothing's really moving in their right direction. And
Jets are pretty terrible, too.
Jets are checking in at 30. Okay. They're pretty terrible as well, certainly.
I mean, if you got Cook as your quarterback, I think the Raiders with Geno might be
That's a good point, actually.
I mean? Yeah.
And maybe even the Giants with whoever.
Right.
I'm telling you, we should start doing these things at the end of the year, or the week between the Super Bowl. Have the have the toilet bowl here for number one pick. So that's
Their
what
defense is terrible right now too.
That's what we do in our fantasy football league to keep the kind of bottom of the table teams, bottom of the standings teams interested. Is there's a consolation bracket amongst the final 4 bottom teams, and the winner of that gets the first overall pick.
Oh, okay.
So that's how you kind of keep everybody locked in and focused and staying on the waiver wire and, not just...
A lot of people have the opposite. Like my son's league, the loser goes in a dog cage for a while.
That kind of thing. Right, so we do our draft party every year actually at our local VFW, funny enough. It's become a tradition. So the loser, the last place person has to pick up the beer tab when we leave when we leave the VFW after the draft, which is a pretty good one.
No one seems to be biting, and frankly, I'd never come in last in our league.
Yeah, so you're not. I knock on wood. I never, and I'm not going to this year. I never have. So, but
I propose now that the loser has to wear a singlet all Labor Day weekend. And
it's your guys, gathering,
even when we go to like the Honey and yeah.
Oh, that would be
one's quite biting.
That would be fantastic. We've talked about you can get like custom made license plate outlines that are like bright highlighter letters and say like I came in last in my fantasy football league that they have to put around their license plate for a year. Like so, we've kicked that around. But the Jets check in at 30.
Yeah, they're terrible too.
They're terrible. The Browns checking in at 29. Wow, the Titans
we talked about that more,
climbed.
but I actually did a lot more Browns-Bills work since we got together last. And that game wasn't unattainable for them to win.
Sanders showed a little something.
No? Not as much. I mean, really Judkins being out is going to be a real problem for them because he at least could be kind of the engine of the offense.
Huge.
Losing him is fortuitous, I guess. For the Steelers.
Me losing him ahead of my championship game this weekend in fantasy was not the best timing either. But hey, you'll have that. Quick for you, just across the timeline here, the Browns will not activate Deshaun Watson from the PUP list with 2 games remaining, according to Kevin Stefanski. So he had been in that 21-day practice window, but they're going to shut him down for the rest of the year. Newsworthy.
But, I mean, I'm sure that we get more Browns conversations. It's even more of an off-season conversation, but I don't think Sanders can convince them that he's going to be a good enough option to not do something else.
If you are the Browns and you have 2 first-round picks in this year's draft, then, hey, that Jags pick is going to be in the 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, but still, I think you got to go back to that well. And I know you just, quote-unquote, wasted a 3rd and a 5th. But you know what? If Dillon or Shador, if one of those guys ends up being a capable backup, fine.
That's worth it. Yeah.
Then it's worth it.
That's like the Rudolph pick.
Exactly. If one of those guys is a quality backup for you for 8 to 10 years, it's worth it.
It's definitely worth it.
But
they just need so much O-line.
They do, and maybe they're another.
I might even wait a year.
Let's wait a year.
I don't know. Right.
Let's build the nest up a little bit here more. Maybe someone makes you an offer you can't refuse for Myles Garrett in the offseason as well. And
you'd have to consider it.
I would think so.
Right.
I would think so.
Kill a lot of birds with that stone.
And, other organizations operate differently. Cleveland's probably looking at it as like, that's our attraction. That's our calling card. That's the jerseys that we sell and everything. But at some point, what good is he doing you? He's going to win Defensive Player of the Year, and you're 3-12.
Yeah.
Number 28, Matt, the highest they've been in a long time, maybe since like late September. It's the Tennessee Titans at number 28.
Titans would be ahead of all these teams.
Yes.
They've like run the ball well. I think Pollard has like 100 yards 3 weeks in a row, give or take, and defense plays pretty hard. And I know the Chiefs weren't a shell of themselves, but they won. I mean, if we're in this neighborhood and you get a win,
they won comfortably.
Yeah.
Like by 2 or 3 scores. I know I've said this before. I'll continue to say it. Of all the bottom of the barrel, really bad teams, like the bottom 5, 6, 7 teams here in the NFL.
The total rebuilds.
Maybe the Commanders because of Daniels, but I think I'd want the Titans.
Of potential open jobs of terrible teams. Like, I don't think Washington's getting fired.
That's the one I want.
That's the one I want, right.
I've got a quarterback. I've got draft capital. Jeffrey Simmons is a stud, and he's not 24, but I think he's like 27.
No, he's fine.
He's going to play 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 more years of high-level football. There's
some encouraging signs there, at least.
You hit on a couple guys in the draft. You hit on a couple free agents, and I'm not saying they're going to win the division or anything next year, but they could at least be a 7, 8, 9 win team. 27 is the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know how they're ahead of anybody. I mean, they have lost 11 of their last 12 games.
It's pretty bad.
It's very bad.
Yeah.
I think maybe the Jets might be the only team here that we've talked about that I would say that they would beat on a neutral field this weekend.
I went too long thinking, boy, these guys are better than this level team.
I mean, their roster
is not.
But they're not.
Yeah, they're just not. They've had a million different running backs. There's been a lot of guys in and out of the lineup.
1-11 since mid-September.
Oh.
1-12 since mid-September. They've lost 12 of their last 13 games. Crawling to Cancun are the Arizona Cardinals. 26, the Washington Commanders. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I think they belong in this grouping of teams, which is crazy.
If we were tiering teams, they would be in the bottom tier, but they're probably the best of the bottom tier.
Yes. I don't know if they have a quicker reset than the Titans, but they're a better team right now than the Titans. Mm-hmm. That's not saying much. Number 25, down a few spots after getting spanked by the Bengals. It's the Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
I didn't think Quinn Ewers was terrible.
Mm-mm.
But he's another one of those. If he can be a good, solid backup for 8 to 10 years,
that's
what
right.
That's what I'm looking for. But I don't think he's going to be much more than that.
But I would clearly have these guys over all the other teams we mentioned. Like this might be the beginning of a new tier.
Fair.
Yeah.
I know they've lost 2 in a row now after showing some life, but I still think
doesn't say coming into the Steeler game, it was like these guys are hot, and they were. I think they had a winning record at that point.
Yeah. Well, they're 6-7.
They were 6-7, yeah.
But still, I mean, I'm with you on that. I think they have earned to be kind of the next of the not so good tier.
Yeah. They're better than the guys we mentioned.
Matt, moving on up, the New Orleans Saints checking in at 24. Yeah. They have won 3 in a row. Tyler Shuck became their first 300-yard passer in over 24 months, over two calendar years.
Wow.
The first time a Saints quarterback has thrown for 3 bills.
No, I think their coach has done a good job with not that much talent. The defense is competitive.
My only thing with them is like Cam Jordan and Demario Davis are so old. What's that mean for next year? But I think it's still, though, I think there's something to be said for you've kind of outlined this for everybody. Like winning is still important. Winning still matters.
Yeah.
And even though those guys probably won't be around next year, they're helping set the culture. They're helping, in that room right now and setting a standard for what it takes in the National Football League.
Especially because your coach and probably your quarterback are going to be your coach and your quarterback. Like winning games here is a good thing for them.
And we said this, maybe it was yesterday or last week. I'm sure there's some Saints fans that are pulling their hair out like, why are we winning games now? All we're doing is falling down the draft board. I think for them, when you've got your quarterback, when you've got your coach, I think it's okay. It's not the end of the world.
No, and this particular draft, I don't think you're winning your way away from Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase or Joe Alt or,
Good point. 23, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
Fine. They got some pieces.
Yeah.
They're flawed, but they certainly have some talent.
I mean, if anything, I'd have them higher. I mean, they're definitely better than the
I was
going to
say, I think they're definitely the class of all the teams that we've mentioned, which isn't saying too much. But
I mean, Burrow throwing to Chase and Higgins and Chase Brown doing what he's doing.
I might have them ahead of the Atlanta Falcons, who check in at 22.
I would. I definitely would.
Yeah.
I think I can count on what they do more than what I can count on Atlanta does.
Yes.
I do give Kyle Pitts some credit, though. He's really blown up.
Contract year, baby.
Yeah, it's working out perfect.
Contract year. Yeah, and that's interesting to see what the Falcons do the rest of the way here. I mean, Bijan's a stud. What are you going to do with Drake London? Kirk Cousins might be playing himself into a job next year, though.
Yeah, I think he'll probably be one of the 32 on opening day.
Or at least a Vikings-type situation.
Hold down the fort.
I know that's funny because he was there in the past.
No, but he'd be a perfect
like with a J.J. McCarthy-type guy.
Yeah. Or him in the first-round pick or,
Yes. 21, the Kansas City Chiefs drop 1 spot after struggling against the Titans. Gardner Minshew, has his own knee injury early in that one. They're down to their third quarterback. There's not a lot for them to hang their hat on the rest of the way.
No, and for the true nature of this exercise of how good you are right now,
they should probably be a little bit lower.
I would say the Bengals are favored against the Chiefs right now.
I think so.
With
the Saints might be favored against the Chiefs right now.
I mean, Ololokon, I always kill his name.
Oladokin?
Yeah, Oladokin. I mean, that's a quarterback. That ain't good.
Hey, he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion, okay?
I guess he is.
I always laugh at that. Number 20, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, the defense was a mess without Quinn Williams. I mean, on their good days, they could hang with anyone. They're kind of like the Bengals.
They're still explosive. That is a good comp. Like they've got pieces on that offense, and the defense is better than it was in October.
Both those teams could put a lot of points up on you.
They would probably beat the Chiefs.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they are 1 spot ahead of the Chiefs. But yeah, I think this is about right for Dallas, checking in at number 20. Number 19, up a couple spots after the win over the Giants. Now 7-8 on the year. It's the Minnesota Vikings.
I still would have probably the Bengals and Cowboys ahead of the Vikings. I mean, just because Dak and Burrow are a lot better than the Vikings quarterback situation.
And again, McCarthy's availability is in doubt, and we're not in love with him, but he's
No,
better
but
than what else they got.
I'm not in love with Dart. I'm not in love with McCarthy. But these two have to learn how to stay on the field.
Can't make the club in the tub.
You're not going to get any benefit of the doubts, even though you're high picks, if you can't stay on the field.
I completely agree.
And it's usually them putting themselves in harm's way.
Number 18, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I do not know what to make of these guys, man.
That might even be too high. They're not playing well for a long time now. And a lot of it's Baker.
I was going to say, a lot of that centers around Baker Mayfield, who has really regressed in the last month or so. It's been weird because I think you talked about this yesterday. They've gotten some big dogs back from the injury report and the injured list, and they've gone the opposite direction.
Right.
It makes no sense. They were kind of one of those not tier 1 absolute Super Bowl favorite teams, but they were in that tier 2 for a long time.
They were a top 5 NFC team there for a good bit of the season.
Now they need to win.
And now the coaches are hot in the hot seat, and crazy.
Now they need to win these next 2 weeks to get into the playoffs. Crazy how fast life comes at you. And speaking of which, similar conversation for the team checking in 17 here, the Indianapolis Colts. They lose on a late pick 6 last night, too.
Boy, the Niners' offense was really impressive last night. I'm not going to kill the Colts D as much as they probably deserve, but Colts are in trouble. I mean, Rivers limits you to some degree, too.
They're in trouble because the quarterback situation now is in flux, and they don't have a first-round pick because the Sauce trade.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough place to be for the Colts.
There'll be a weird offseason.
Yes, it will. Certainly one to keep an eye on. The Ravens check in at number 16 after.
I would say they're a league average team.
I think that's fair. Like, you could maybe argue some of these teams around them, but the Colts and the Bucks, it's not like they have a ton going. Yeah, league average.
They're a
16.
league average team, 16. I'm cool with that.
15, the Detroit Lions. They fall a couple spots, but still have a very slim chance of making the playoffs, but they need the Packers to lose their next 2, and they need to win their next 2.
I don't know who the next 2 or 3 teams are, but I bet the Lions will be favored over the next 2 or 3 teams.
I would think so. Packers have the Ravens and then the Bears. So, I mean, it's not the
they could go 0-2.
It's not the easiest of routes for the Packers. The Lions have I believe they go to Minnesota. Yes, they go to Minnesota. And then they have the Bears. So are the Bears done with?
I know the Bears have clinched a spot, but they have not clinched.
I thought the Bears and the Packers played the final week of the season, but I'm obviously wrong.
No, they've played twice
that.
Recently. They played
That's
2
right.
of the last
That's
3
right.
weeks.
You're right.
So
Packers
done.
have the Ravens and then and then they go to Minnesota. Okay. Lions go to Minnesota and then they have the Bears.
So Packers are favored in both games. Sounds like they opened as like a 2-point favorite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Lions, pardon me, both of those are on the road. So the Lions finish at Minnesota, at Chicago.
Okay. Maybe Chicago has nothing to play for.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And that might be all right with them. Chance to rest and bye week it and all that stuff.
Just for power ranking reasons, though, I would have the Lions higher. I mean, it's the best offense in the league.
I think so.
Yeah.
I understand the kind of, the Parcells you are, what your record says you are.
I know.
But like number 14 is the Carolina Panthers. I mean, I get it. They're currently in first place in their division and in the playoffs, but the Lions would be favored over the Panthers.
If it was round 1 in the playoffs and they went to Carolina,
everyone's taking
Lions
Detroit.
Are favored. Yeah.
Everyone's taking Detroit. And Carolina checks in at number 14. Great story, moving in the right direction, but I also don't think
the defense has gotten so much better from a year ago. I mean, it was a miserable, terrible group.
Derek Brown is good on that defensive line, man.
The Scouton kid, the rookie second-round pick, has been playing really well for him, too.
Number 13, but number 1 in your hearts, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'd have them over everyone listed.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean,
I don't think so. I definitely would.
I definitely would over all those teams.
Let's see who's in front of them here. The Packers at number 12.
If it's love, I'd have Packers over. Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The Packers have some serious injury concerns right now.
They're low in flux.
But if Love clears concussion protocol, I'm all right with having them a spot ahead of the Steelers at
Green
number
Bay's
12.
Not trending in a great direction.
No, they are not. They're one of those teams that they're still a playoff team. Absolutely, they're still dangerous, all that stuff. But I don't think they're in the Super Bowl.
No, I don't.
Super Bowl caliber tier anymore.
They definitely dropped a tier in the last couple of weeks.
And number 11, last outside of the top 10 across the Commonwealth. It's the 10-5 Philadelphia Eagles.
Seems a little harsh, but I mean, we know who the teams are ahead of them, give or take. And they're all pretty decent, obviously.
Yeah, it does seem a little harsh, but let's get into it here, and maybe we Won't disagree. Houston checks in at number 10. I might have them a couple spots higher.
I'm a big fan. This was not a great week for them.
They didn't play great.
No, they really didn't. I mean, the Bills and Texans both played horrible teams and kind of just got out of it. You could say, it was a business trip, but they didn't play their best football either. They couldn't run the ball.
They could not, no. Number 9, the L.A. Chargers.
Okay, I have Houston ahead of them, and I think I'd have the Eagles ahead of them.
I think I would too, but man, they just keep finding ways to win. 4 straight wins despite losing more people on the offensive line. It's insane.
Herbert's a total superstar.
A stud.
Yeah.
And should be getting more shout for MVP. And I think getting Omari and Hampton back in the fold is going to be important.
Young legs sometimes really pays off this time of year.
Matt, I don't get this one, and maybe it's just a point of playoff standings, but NFL.com has the Rams dropping 7 spots from 1 to 8.
Oh, they'd be number 1 for me.
After an overtime loss to Seattle.
Right, who's probably 1 in the rankings.
And I don't know if they're doing that just because they have to go down to 5 in terms of the playoff conversation, but
I don't care where the seedings are.
I don't get dropping a team 7 spots for losing to the number 2 team in overtime in their building.
I think they'd be favored in Seattle this week.
I
mean, by 2 or something like they were, yeah.
If you have the Rams at number 2 or 3, I'm not going to fight you.
Right,
but
I know
8?
they just lost.
8?
No, they would be 1 for me.
I don't get it. Number 7, the San Francisco 49ers.
Very impressive.
So impressive. I mean, Shanahan should be getting more shout for Coach of the Year.
I'm shocked he isn't. And Robert Saleh, I mean, he was a head coach a year ago for the Jets, is a phenomenal defensive coordinator. Sometimes people forget, when these head coaches don't really succeed and they go back to what they were great at to become a head coach. I mean, he's losing guys left and right. And that defense is still competitive.
Down 5 starters on that defense.
Yeah.
At one point,
and a lot of young guys.
At one point in this season, they had 5, and they've got some guys back, but they had 5 rookies starting on that defense at one point this season.
Bosa and Warner are 2 of the guys out. It's not like it's your nickelback.
2 of the best in the world at their craft,
and the offense is really clicking right now.
But you lost your future Hall of Fame left tackle for a period of time. You lost Brock Purdy for a period of time.
Yeah. Kittle was out early.
Yeah,
yeah.
Been McCaffrey missed some time.
They've done a heck of a job.
They've been hit as hard by injuries as anybody, and they are 11-4. It's impressive. Staying at number 6 with a thrilling overtime victory over the Packers, it's the Bears.
Okay, but the Rams are better. I mean, the Rams are better than everyone in my opinion. Bears versus Niners is a conversation for me.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think so. I'm all right with the Bears having the slight edge up just because they're healthier, but the Niners might have the experience. They do have the experience element on Chicago.
I don't have a lot of fighting with that.
Matt,
the Rams is the one I have bugging me.
Same. The Bears 11-4, right? Of their 11 wins, 6 of them they've trailed at the 2-minute warning.
Oh, I know. Isn't that nuts?
Insane.
I remember when I did Matt stats for Bears, it was 4 of them they're trailing there. Wow, that's a ton. And it has kept up.
Dangerous way to live. You can ride that tiger, and sometimes the tiger bites you. But there's also something to be able to set, something to be said for not blinking in those situations.
And I think it's good for Caleb Williams' development. I mean, he won't happen like this every year. Sure. He's not going to be the best ever in 2-minute situations.
Hey, you never know.
Right? Someone's got to be.
Someone's got to be. Number 5 is the Jags 11-4.
Ahead of Denver or below Denver.
A statement performance by Jacksonville as they go to one of the better teams in the league, one of the tougher environments in the league, and they win comfortably.
I'm not usually a believer in this. If you just lose to somebody, you should be below them, blah, blah, blah. But I think in this case, this late in the year, they should be ahead of Denver.
I do too.
Yeah.
10 touchdowns.
In Denver? Lawrence has been phenomenal.
He's been unbelievable. 10 touchdowns in his last 2 games. Jags are on a 6-game win streak.
Yeah, I mean, what don't we like?
And number 4 is the Denver Broncos. So
okay. I guess I'd
flip-flop those
them,
teams.
Right.
I get it. It's like the AP poll thing of, You're going to have Notre Dame ahead of Miami when Miami beat Notre Dame, or whatever. But this just happened 2 days ago.
I said it's so fresh. I at least would flip those 2.
But whatever. They're 4 and 5. They're right next to each other.
And I even said yesterday, my opinion of Denver hasn't changed because of that game. It's not like, I'm so much more worried about
correct.
Right.
But I would say, though, that defense better get it buttoned up quickly.
Yeah.
Because that's not the time to be getting gashed like that. Number 3, the Buffalo Bills. It's as high as we've seen them in a long time.
They weren't very good this past week.
They weren't, and I realize, they're.
So that's the best
They've
team
won
in the AFC?
6 straight games, I think.
Patriots are still available.
Patriots check in at number 2, and then the Seahawks at number 1.
Okay. Buffalo's pretty strong. I mean, they're stringing wins together at the right time, and they got the best dude. They have the best player that's going to be in the playoffs for sure, if not the best player walking the planet right now.
Yeah.
That carries some weight when all these teams are flawed. Carries a lot of weight.
It sure does. I don't hate that spot for Buffalo.
No.
I don't know if I love the Patriots at number 2, but
Me too.
the way Drake May's
I'm
playing,
not sure I could have put Jacksonville over Buffalo.
agree.
Or Chicago, or
Like
San Fran,
if I were doing this, the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Bills would be my top 3 teams.
I would go Rams, Seahawks, and then I'm not sure who my 3 would.
I think I would go Seahawks, Rams, just because of the recency
Which
of
I get, right.
that game. But I might go Buffalo 3. I don't know though. Jacksonville deserves a shout. A couple other teams in the NFC deserve a
who
shout.
the best team in the AFC is.
Same.
Yeah.
So I might just go with Josh Allen.
Yeah, and I would have any problem with anyone that made that vote.
The Rams at 8 though really bugs me.
That
Come
bothers
on.
me a lot.
What are we doing here? What are we doing here? All right, there's our power rankings, week 16 or week 17 edition.
If Charbonnet doesn't happen to pick up the 2-point conversion, the Rams are won still.
Yeah.
I mean,
If you got the Rams at 3 or 4, I wouldn't fight you. But
and then put them back to 1 next week when
8?
they beat somebody bad or whatever.
You drop them 7 spots after an overtime loss on the road to the team now with the best record in football. Yeah, I don't get it, but hey.
You got the MVP probably,
Yeah, totally. I still think I would take the Rams if the Rams were getting the 8th best odds to win the Super Bowl, I'd take that bet right now.
I'd put every dollar
I'd take that bet right now.
Yeah.
Some more moving and shaking as we roll along here. We got a couple Steelers that were recently named to the Pro Bowl here. We got some tweets to get to before we get up out of here, so we'll do all that as we roll along. Uhler, Williamson, The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Hayden Schock currently resides in Arlington, Virginia. As an Air Force kid, he was born in San Antonio, Texas, and moved frequently growing up. He was born with Goldenarr syndrome. Hayden is married to his wife, Lauren, and shares his life with a retired hearing service dog, Remy, and an active hearing service dog, Abby. He is a federal employee for the General Services Administration. Hayden's father, Ed, who is from Indiana, Pennsylvania, has been a lifelong Steelers fan. Hayden decided to follow his dad's fandom journey around the age of 6 or 7, and for nearly 3 decades, he and his father have watched the Steelers games together and bonded over countless traditions. The Steelers celebrations were a family affair. His 5 other siblings, who were all always ready and willing to play backyard football with him, while his mom taught him how to hold a football and draw plays on the palm of his hand. Hayden lives by the inspiring quote of his late friend, Taylor Hagen: "Don't quit, never give up." Steeler Nation, make sure you vote for Hayden Schock as the NFL's 2025 Fan of the Year. Vote now at NFL.com. We are bouncing into the holiday season, into Christmas week here on The Drive. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson with you for 2 more segments here before we take a couple days off and let old St. Nick slide down the chimney. Matt, I guess off the back of power rankings here, and we're kind of talking about around the league and everything. You want to go ahead and pick the Christmas Day slate of games here,
yeah.
And then we'll close with some tweets and some final thoughts.
I don't know the lines or anything. This will be the first time I hear.
Perfect. That's good
stuff.
Like to hear. 3 games, a trio of games on Christmas Day. 2 on Netflix, 1 on Prime Video. The first, 1 o'clock, the Commanders host the Cowboys at Northwest Stadium in Landover, Maryland. Dallas, a touchdown favorite.
So this is going to apply to all 3 of these games. There's a lot of teams that don't have much to play for. The Chiefs are out of quarterbacks. Like, will Kelsey play? I mean,
the Lions are only one of these 6 teams really have.
Matter.
I mean, the Broncos, I guess technically, because the 1 seed and all that stuff. But
I mean, where in terms of seeding, it matters for them. Good point. But my point was going to be like the Chiefs or Washington. I mean, they're a standalone game. I'm not saying they won't block the guy in front of them, but like, how much does it mean to them? Is Did they treat it like every other game?
The Chiefs is the most interesting one in that
Chiefs are the
conversation.
ones and this is more of a coaching staff, who do you rest, who plays type of conversation, not like, am I going to run my route hard or am I going to tackle this guy or not?
5 times in the last 7 years, the Chiefs have been to the Super Bowl. 7 times in the last 7 years, they've been to the AFC Championship game.
That's who I was really thinking.
Now you're 6-9, and it's Christmas, and it's cold, and
like, is that organization just going to be fine losing 30-0? On Christmas Day with the whole world watching.
Maybe.
Right now, they have the 11th pick in the draft. They could end up with like 7. I mean, that could be exactly what that organization gets.
Lord, don't.
I know.
Don't give him Jordan Tyson. Don't
what
do
if
it.
they get like the best receiver or
Tate or Tyson
the best edge rusher in the draft? Or,
Don't like it. Don't like it one bit. I'll take Dallas -7, though.
I will too.
The Cowboys always show up in these national TV holiday
I still think the
games,
offense is pretty good.
And they can score.
Good.
They can score
Right.
plenty of points. Midday game, 4:30. Also on Netflix in Minneapolis, where weather will not be a factor because it is, of course, in the indoor U.S. Bank Stadium in Minnesota.
I haven't heard about McCarthy or not.
Have
It's
not
so
heard
early in the
about
week,
his
but-
status. Yeah, still very early for that. But what we do know is that the Lions are 6-point road favorites in Minnesota currently.
Okay. I'm going to take the Lions here. Like, I can't imagine
Same.
they get outrushed by a heavy load again. I know Minnesota's defense is good, but it's familiar to these guys. They have a lot to play for.
They still do have a playoff berth to play for, and it actually looks like McCarthy is out with a hairline fracture in his hand,
So he's out for the year.
according to TV. So yeah, in fact, lock that in now, Lions.
Yeah, I
-6
was going to say,
before
I'm feeling really good about that.
before
all
that
of a
moves to
sudden.
7.5
All
or 8. Lock that one down now.
They may win by 20.
They might. That might be
yeah.
one of those ticked off Lions team
Right.
gets a lead early and just
Especially
pedal to
because
the
they're-
metal.
I'm sure it's like all these teams, though, are short week on the roads, never good, blah, blah, blah.
Good point.
But they can't be happy with how that game ended.
No.
I mean, they're going to be coming back with a vengeance.
They're going to be honked off,
Yeah.
as Wolf would have said.
And the teams that they need to lose or whatever haven't even played yet. So it's not like, the Bears won and now we're out of it and we're going to, go through the motions of the late games on Sunday. No, you're the first team on the docket.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I'm with you on that. So we'll both lay the 7 points with Dallas. We'll both lay the 6 points with Detroit. The Broncos go to Arrowhead Stadium. You only got a few more years to get to Arrowhead, okay? By the time, what's a good point of reference here? The World Cup's coming to the United States of America this summer, 2026. By the time the next World Cup happens after that, the Chiefs will be playing in a different state, or at least putting the finishing touches on their.
Could have went with an election, something like that.
Yeah, but that's we're already like a year because it was the 24 election, right? Whatever, but you're right. Olympics, election cycle,
there's a lot
something,
of stuff, right?
something like that. The Chiefs for the 3rd straight year on Christmas, but this year not feeling quite the same as the last two.
I don't have any clue how to take this. Like, what's the line in this game?
13.5. The Broncos are favored.
I think that they're telling us what the Chiefs are going to do.
A funny, Back to the Future type thing. If someone would have dropped in to you and I, at Chuck Noll Field while we were in the middle of a commercial break doing our shows during training camp and said, hey, Christmas Day when the Broncos go to Arrowhead, they're going to be 2 touchdown favorites. You and I would have been like,
right.
What?
Or I'm not going to tell you who's favored, but the spread on Christmas is 13.5. You'd be man, Bo Nix is a bum.
Yeah, right. The Broncos took a step back, and the Chiefs are still kings of the universe.
Top 5. Maybe they need another quarterback. Is Peyton on the hot seat? Yeah.
Wild. I might lay those with Denver, though. I just
can't put money on the Chiefs. If I have to put $1 down on this game, it can't be.
And I know these guys are
I know.
professional. There's pride. There's all that stuff. But I think this is such a unique example.
I do too. I mean, you're your 3rd string quarterback from a team that always wins. I just think this is a weird one.
They're humans too.
Yeah.
And it's Christmas Day, and they
I'm not playing Chris Jones.
And last year, think about this too, because it's a similar roster. Last year, the Chiefs Christmas Eve had to fly to Pittsburgh. You got to leave your family on Christmas Eve, and then you're gone basically. It was probably, 9 or 10 o'clock at night, Christmas, by the time they got back home to their houses in Kansas City or Missouri, Kansas, wherever they live. Like, you're probably looking at this like, the past 2 years I've missed Christmas with my family.
Yeah, it's getting kind of old.
It's getting kind of old. At least then we were winning, and we were like, we're 6-9. We're not going to the playoffs. Pat Mahomes isn't running through that tunnel. What am I doing here? I'd just rather hang with my family.
Yeah, it's such a unique situation. Like you said, I mean, they're a perennial Super Bowl team that if a couple more bounces, they're double-digit win team this year.
Totally.
I mean, they weren't that far off.
And if Mahomes was completely healthy, maybe they'd still be playing for scratching and clawing for a last-ditch playoff spot.
The league's so unhappy about that injury because they probably beat Tennessee last week. And
again, they're at least still viable.
Right. And maybe Taylor Swift's there, and everyone, we're glued to the game.
Instead, now you get a trio of.
I don't even care if I watch much of that game. You know what I mean?
I got to be honest.
I will for my job.
I'll have these games on, but I'm not going to be locked in, glued into it. And hey, National Football League. I know you don't need any advice from me, okay? But maybe peel back on the Christmas day here going forward. All right? Maybe this is jolly old St. Nick saying, no one's going to be bigger than me. All right? The NBA tried. The NFL tried. No one's going to be bigger than Father Christmas, baby. But yeah.
I'm betting on the NFL on that bet.
I'm betting. I don't know, though, because there's not many things in this country that are bigger than the NFL. But Christmas might be one of them.
Ooh.
It might be
a heavyweight
like
fight.
Christmas and Jesus. It's a very heavy. I mean, those things, Christmas and Jesus, are kind of tied together. But those might be the only things in this country with a bigger brand than the NFL.
And NFL might be trending the better direction.
That's Frazier and Ali, baby. That's a rumble in the jungle right there. That's it. Some of you guys who are really good with AI and all that stuff, you could put together a wrestling video of the NFL versus Christmas, and we'll see whose hand is raised at the end there. One more segment to go on the other side. Some final thoughts. Some tweets that we have to get to as well before we pause for a couple days here for a Christmas breather. We'll do all that and more. Put a bow on today's proceedings before we get up out of here on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Final segment here of a special holiday edition of The Drive. Reminder, we will be back with you on Friday, the 26th, day after Christmas, to do our typical 5-Star Friday and preview for Steelers-Browns. We still at that point won't know if Steelers-Browns means anything in the grand scheme of things.
But we'll have 3 games in the book that we just talked about.
We will have those 3 games in the books, and we will have, obviously, plenty to prepare for.
A lot more injury news, practice news.
That's the important. I think
maybe there's a Metcalf change by then.
Exactly. Yes. We should have clarity on that. Maybe some more clarity on TJ Watt, and then all those guys on the injury report. And speaking of TJ Watt, Matt, I did want to make sure to mention this today.
Yeah.
I understand it's the Pro Bowl. It's a popularity contest.
Yeah, I don't love the process.
Like, we were laughing.
Things that bug me about it.
We were looking at the voting because you can see the top 10 players in terms of votes.
Yeah.
And like Joey Porter Jr. wasn't even in the top 10 for corners. I think that's ridiculous.
Right.
Zach Frazier wasn't even in the top 10 for centers. I think that's ridiculous.
So that's even in the AFC?
Yes.
I mean,
but it's
only 16 centers in the AFC,
it's a total popularity contest. Right. Like, I get it. I do. I don't want to put too much into it, but I do want to give props to the guys that get elected, that get named to it, and obviously there's all kinds of time for backups and that
guys in playoffs
and that kind of thing. Yeah,
not the Super Bowl, and some guys don't play. And super quick. I did a segment on this earlier today, and I'm not going to be like, this guy got screwed, he should have been in. I don't care that much because it is a popularity contest. But the things that bother me are, why do we have free safeties and strong safeties? Because most teams, the Steelers, it's actually kind of relevant, but most teams, it's really not anymore.
Agreed.
The AFC only had 2 corners go. I'm like, we're fielding a team with 2 corners?
That seems a little thin.
That seems a little thin. I mean, couldn't Porter have been one of the other ones? And then the other thing that's goofy, and it benefits the Steelers actually in Watt, is there's defensive ends and outside linebackers.
Yes.
Like, they're kind of all the same, guys.
I'm with you on that one. That one kind of surprises me too. But, again, it is what it is type thing. Jalen Ramsey, TJ Watt, and Ben Skronik as a special teamer have been named to the Pro Bowl.
I was happy about Skoranek.
That's what I was just going to say.
Good for him,
The
man.
other two, they've got a long list of accolades and Pro Bowls and accomplishments.
They probably went, oh, good.
Right. But for someone like Skoranek, that's cool, and that's deserved recognition for playing at a very high level his special teams role that doesn't get him, maybe from football dorks like us and some of our listeners. But for someone like him, I think this is a pretty cool honor.
I think it's massive. I mean, not to mention, Killebrew would have got votes ahead of him had he not got injured. Like Killebrew has won this honor as one of the premier special teamers.
Yes.
So I would be shocked that, his quote backup, which I know it's not a one-for-one thing, even got consideration or anybody noticed. No, I think that's absolutely huge. And again, this is small potatoes, but there's positions even like guard, center, like not fantasy relevant positions where once you get in, you kind of break the seal a little bit, and
totally.
So there's a lot of guys that it takes them 2 years again that they should have, and then they're there 2 years later than they should have been. You know what I mean? Especially if you're not like a first round pick guard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think he's outstanding. But Creed Humphrey was the number one vote getter for centers. Mm-hmm. But there's also part of that is how good his team has been for the last 7 years.
See him all the time.
Playing behind Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. I bet you there's a bunch of Swifties that are out there voting for all the Kansas City.
Vote, right. I mean, Kelsey got it.
This might be kind of cynical, but what I should do is I should save the top 10 voting guys for the positions. We should see what the Chiefs players get next. If Kelsey retires and the Swifties are uninterested and unplugged,
not
we should see what those voting numbers look like for the rest of the Chiefs next year.
Because they didn't exactly have a great year as a team.
No, they did not. And Creed Humphrey's outstanding.
No. You're not saying he's a bomb. He shouldn't be out there.
But I wonder if maybe instead of first, he'd be third or fourth if it wasn't for Swifty Nation. But
I guess a handful of teams got 6 guys, and the Ravens were one of them.
Yes, which is kind of hilarious. But
Ricard and Juszczyk go every year at fullback, and Juszczyk, my co-host, said is probably going to set the record for most consecutive Pro Bowls. Yeah. He's going to beat Reggie White because he's no one to compete against. It's crazy
because no one has that position anymore, really. Yeah,
I think the Ravens also had a punter or a special teamer or something too.
Yeah, of course. Matt, that's it for the Pro Bowl announcement for the Steelers. A lot of you tweeted us, Merry Christmas, thanks for everything and your hard work. And I'm not going to run through everybody here, but we've gotten some really nice tweets in the last day or two. But a couple here that I wanted to address before we get up out of here. Wallace tweets us and says, it's Immaculate Reception Day. Shouldn't that be a national holiday in Pittsburgh? Absolutely.
Should at least be brought up. That's the first I thought of it today, so I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I certainly am as well. There's always now kind of a bittersweet element to it with, Franco passing away a couple years ago as he did on the day before he was about to get his number retired. Yeah, totally. Yeah. But Immaculate
Especially
Reception
for us
Day.
That didn't see it live or, weren't around for it or,
You know what they should do is in all the schools across Western Pennsylvania, after you do the Pledge of Allegiance and get the morning announcements, it should be and now we're going to see the Immaculate, they wheel in a TV with an old VHS tape and they
Franco's
play
Italian Army, Right.
They play the Immaculate Reception highlight for all the kids. It's just like you get wrapped in a terrible towel at the hospital if you're born in Pittsburgh. It's you should but then now I'm realizing none of those kids are in school today anyways. They've all been off. They're all on Christmas
is not
break.
Exactly a school day. Right.
B. Wiggs tweets us and says, I'm certainly no O-line expert, but how do you take Dylan Cook off the field at this point, even if Broderick Jones or someone else is healthy again? I think that has to be a real conversation.
Oh, I think it's a real conversation. I mean, now Myles Garrett might crash him back to earth. But I thought last week he might crash back to earth, and he went up against Hutchinson a fair amount. And I don't know if Jones will even be available. But clearly they picked Cook over Pete after originally picking Pete over Cook.
Yes.
So good for them for recognizing, and made the right decision there. I don't know. I bet they would not pick Cook over Jones today, but maybe they would for round 1 of the playoffs if he has 2 more super strong games.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't trying to make waves, but I think the 2 best games for Steelers 2025 left tackles were the past 2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
more consistency. Like some of Jones' highlight blocks, Cook can't make, but he also has three times a game. It's like, what are you doing?
The range of the highlights and the lowlights is not as wide with
right. And I just want to, if you can be a consistent left tackle, I'll take that all day long. I don't need highlights. Yeah,
I was gonna say that's half the battle. That might be more than half the battle.
Yeah.
Matt, finally, a 3-pack of Christmas questions from Andrew. All right, you and I typically don't do this cliched stuff, but we'll hit it real quick. Okay, number 1, best Christmas gift you ever got as a kid.
My favorite, I got the same thing basically every year, was I collected football cards. And not only was there would be a box of Topps football cards.
Football cards, baby.
The whole box, not like grandma gave me 2 packs. You just go, you just rip through a whole box when you were 8, man. That was awesome.
The best.
That was awesome.
I used to get the football cards and the hockey cards too, and I used to love getting those. Best though, Christmas gift ever, Christmas '99. I got a Nintendo 64. After the 3rd straight year of asking for it.
Oh, wow.
I asked for one in 97. Parents told me I was too young. Santa. Asked for one in 98. Santa said too young again. But in 99, 3rd time was the charm. I finally got my Nintendo 64.
Wow, okay.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
You probably buddies that had them and you were jealous. And
My parents were so against video games and all that, but them and the big man Santa finally caved in December of 99. Number 2, favorite Christmas movie?
I would say Christmas Story.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it's really good.
It's really good. Really good. I would go with either Christmas Vacation or the Jim Carrey Grinch.
Okay.
I love me some Jim Carrey Grinch.
Yeah.
I love me some Jim Carrey. He might be my favorite actor
what
ever.
I don't love? Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Like, I don't want to even have that conversation.
Because the answer is yes, obviously, duh.
Sure, right.
Goodfellas is a Christmas movie.
Right, I mean.
There's like 3 Christmas scenes in the movie. It's whatever you want to be.
Michael shopping
for
Christmas and Godfather when Vito gets shot. I mean.
They're all a Christmas movie.
But I just don't like having that conversation every year. It's a hot dog, a sandwich, okay, whatever.
Do you like cranberry sauce with your turkey?
Right, it's like, okay.
Do you have a favorite Christmas tradition?
I don't think. I mean, opening that box every morning was a great tradition.
Yeah, totally.
Lately, not as much.
Okay. The only one I could think of, but it's gone by the wayside now because we have kids. My wife and I, our first few years that we were married, we would do brunch and Goodfellas every Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
So we'd open up our presents, and then before we'd go over to our parents' house or whatever later, we'd make a big brunch, we'd have some drinks, and we'd throw Goodfellas on.
Oh.
That was a tradition we had for like the first
keeps you jolly.
The first like 4 or 5 years of our marriage before the kids, got to the point that we're putting on Christmas movies and that type of thing.
Okay.
But Goodfellas is a Christmas movie, so.
Anytime's a good time for Goodfellas. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, you ain't lying. You ain't lying. I will be watching Die Hard either tonight or tomorrow night, though. I'll give you that one for sure. But just have something on. That's all that matters. Doesn't necessarily matter what it is, just as long as there's something on. Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas, Matt.
Yep. You too.
It has been a hell of a year in a lot of ways, but we've gotten through it, and and we will continue to be here, rocking and rolling. I mean, we're not going. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. But we will be off Wednesday and Thursday. Back with you on Friday. Big thanks to Nathan for producing on the audio side of things. Mr. TV, Tyler V on the video side. Make sure you're checking out our handsome mugs on YouTube and pumping those numbers up to make TV's Christmas merry and bright. For Matt Williamson, I'm Wes Uhler. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Be safe out there, everybody. We'll talk to you Friday. As always, you know where to find us. It's on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.